The funeral was a blur of black suits and damp flowers, but nothing prepared me for the moment my son lost every ounce of decency. I had worn my husband's favorite pearls, the ones he had given me on our 25th anniversary, and held myself with the quiet dignity of a woman who had endured a lifetime of love and loss. That dignity, it seemed, was worth nothing to him. As I took a sip of wine at the small gathering afterward, he flicked his hand, and the glass toppled, spilling crimson across my dress. "Leave my house, you be *********, he barked, and his wife snickered beside him. The room went silent, shocked by the cruelty of flesh and blood. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I smiled. A slow, measured smile, the kind that hides storms. By morning, I was already at work. First came the credit card. Years ago, I had co-signed for him when he needed help starting out. He had forgotten that fact, assuming I had too. One call later, the account was cancelled. No warnings, no alerts, just silence. I imagined him at the grocery store, card declined, the cashier's sympathetic look, his wife's face falling as reality finally bit. Next came the car. The sleek black SUV he bragged about, the one I had technically purchased, became an agent's target. By noon, it was gone. His wife stood in the driveway, bare feet on gravel, phone trembling in her hands, staring at emptiness where their prized possession had been. I didn't need to explain. She would understand. But inconvenience alone would not satisfy the justice I sought. I moved quietly, surgically. I adjusted my husband's will, ensuring his inheritance bypassed my son entirely. Instead, it would go to my granddaughter, secured in a trust he could never touch. I whispered truths about his debts, his arrogance, his cruel laughter at the funeral, to just enough people that doors began closing around him. Invitations vanished, friends grew distant, and the life he had assumed was his by right started crumbling. Months passed, and I watched from a distance. He took a second job. She sold her engagement ring. Their carefully curated life of comfort collapsed under the weight of their own entitlement, while I remained untouched, calm, and poised. Finally, on the anniversary of my husband's death, I sent my granddaughter a letter with a check, enough to buy herself something beautiful, and enclosed the pearls. No note for him. No explanation. Only the quiet, undeniable truth. The power he had assumed over me had been an illusion, and I had spent months dismantling it piece by piece. The best revenge, I realized, is not the scream or the slap. It is the invisible hand that takes everything they assume is theirs and leaves them staring at emptiness, wondering how they ever misjudged the quiet strength of the woman they tried to humiliate. Months passed, and I watched Daniel and Jenna flounder like insects trapped in amber. The SUV gone, their credit crippled, social invitations drying up, they began turning on each other. Every argument, every misstep, every desperate phone call I ignored with serene precision was a thread I'd woven into the web that now held them. Then came the small, exquisite cruelties. I contacted the mortgage company, subtly pointing out minor errors in their paperwork. They got notices, warnings, and fines, all small enough to seem like clerical mistakes, but enough to gnaw at their nerves. I called the local school and forgot to mention their daughter's paperwork was incomplete. Suddenly, they had to scramble to fix something as simple as enrollment. Socially, I became the whisper behind the curtain. Mutual friends suddenly remembered the funeral incident in vivid, dramatized detail. Daniel and Jenna found themselves subtly ostracized. Invitations no longer arrived, doors that once opened now clicked shut in polite silence. Meanwhile, I expanded my control. I quietly acquired some of Daniel's forgotten debts, paying just enough to stay under the radar, then called in the accounts at inconvenient times. A late fee here, a collection notice there, nothing too loud, but enough to make their life a constant low hum of anxiety. Then, the piece de resistance. I sent a perfectly innocent-looking package to Jenna's office, her beloved car keys, attached to a note in my elegant handwriting. Some things aren't really yours. Think about gratitude. The note didn't accuse, didn't yell. It suggested. The paranoia it seeded was far more effective than anger. She panicked. Daniel panicked. Every decision they made from that day on was second-guessed, undermined by the subtle psychological pressure I had orchestrated. I, meanwhile, remained the picture of composure, a widow quietly tending to her life, the pearls at my neck a small, private reminder that dignity carries its own power. By the end of the year, they were barely recognizable. Their pride? Shattered. Their convenience? Gone. And yet, they didn't know I had orchestrated every domino, every setback, every small humiliation. The final truth of their downfall was mine alone to savor. Because the ultimate revenge, I realized, isn't a moment of fury. It's a life redesigned. A carefully planted chain of consequences, all invisible until it's too late. A reminder that underestimation, arrogance, and cruelty, especially toward those who endure quietly, comes with a price that can't be bargained with. And as I poured a quiet glass of wine in my kitchen that night, the same one Daniel had splashed across me months ago, I smiled, not with anger, not with spite, but with a satisfaction so deep it could never be taken away.